Influences in court, how was the Minecraft movie? Enemies have become friends again, and much, much more. It's an honor to be back after such a long time. Hello everyone, I'm Sheriff Tonda, and I know what you're thinking. Hey, what's with that cap? You didn't have a cap like that before, did you? Yes, I have a different cap, which is one of the reasons why Bizarre Months haven't come out for so long. Cause hey, some thug broke into my house and stole my cap. But don't worry, I'm a detective, so I managed to track him down and I've already dealt with him. So once more, and for the last time, where is my cap? It's burned to ashes. That can't be true. Why would you do that? That cap was a symbol, and without it you're nothing. I also took yours. Thanks. Then it's fine. I'll show you that I'm nothing without a cap. Anyway, Bizarre Months are back. We can celebrate. Yeah, I know how many messages I got from you guys. Like, I just want to say that I'm starting a hunger strike until Sheriff Tonda releases another Bizarre Month. And during the time I was gone, I feel like literally the whole internet, like I feel like people here, man, as soon as I left, people just lost their minds. But enough talking. Let's get to the first case. Hog2Girl gets off without punishment. Yes, guys, maybe you saw in previous Bizarre Months, Hog2Girl committed a crazy crypto scam. And it looks like there won't be any consequences because the USAC Fancy Words closed the whole investigation into this, saying they found no evidence against Healy. Okay, I guess. So I hope this lady made a nice pile of cash because with all the trade wars going on right now, we're probably going to need it. But don't worry, I'm not going to get into politics here, even though what's happening in the US is totally crazy. But that's not what Bizarre Month is about. That's the bizarre event of the decade, right? Anyway, GG, congratulations to Hog2Girl. The wolf is fed, and the goat is still alive. Let's move on to the next case. And since we're on the topic of money, the Russo brothers, the directors, the creators of Infinity War and Endgame, recently released their new film on Netflix, Electric State, which absolutely no one is watching. The film's ratings are also absolutely terrible, and to top it all off, the movie cost a staggering $320 million. Why couldn't they have made it for $310 million and send the $10 million they would have saved to me? That would be 100 times better solution, right? Yeah, so Electric State is a total fail, and I honestly hope the Russo brothers will try harder with Avengers Doomsday. Please, don't screw it up, please! Next case. Since we've already touched on Marvel a bit, let's stay abroad for a moment. Because a documentary has appeared online that is supposed to describe the last months, the last years of Stan Lee's life, who, according to this documentary, was allegedly exploited. This isn't meant in a sexual way, but you get it. Some people took advantage of Stan Lee, exploited his condition to gain some profit. The author of this documentary started a Kickstarter, where he's asking for $300,000 to finish editing the documentary. Which is strange in itself, yeah, but if any of you hurt Stan Lee, you don't want to mess with me. I really hope it's not a scam. I hope the documentary is real, because I'm genuinely curious to see what other shady practices in Hollywood will be exposed. I'm extremely curious about it. We'll keep following this. Next case. The Minecraft movie has hit theaters. There are already wildly different reviews flying around online. Some are calling it the worst movie of the year, which is absolutely not true. I honestly have no idea what's up with those reviewers. And others are saying it's an absolute banger. Personally, I already went to see the movie, and I have to say it was alright. It was predictable, and honestly not very original, considering it's supposed to be a movie about Minecraft, about creativity and all that. But the story itself was basically copied straight from something like the Warcraft movie. Yeah, like, the plot lines were really similar. Yeah, maybe they just saw the craft in the title and thought, yes, let's do it the same way. But the movie was actually entertaining. It was great to see those things from Minecraft on the big screen. Yeah, I know it's just mining nostalgia and all that, but some part of my inner child was watching it and was like, Jason Momoa totally nailed it. As for Steve, a lot of people are happy with Jack Black's performance. The only thing that bothers me is that the character of Steve in the movie is basically just Jack Black. I know that Steve doesn't have any lore in the game, but somehow, in my head, which is obviously my own problem, I never pictured Steve like this, because in the movie, Steve is literally just Jack Black in a blue shirt. If you love Jack Black, if you love his roles, if you love his acting, then you love Steve too, because he's literally like every Jack Black character, but as a movie, it was entertaining. I'd give it maybe a 6, 6.5. Of course, if you're a family, you have kids, and those kids love Minecraft, then you can easily bump that rating up. Some of the jokes even had a deeper layer, so I think certain gags will really only entertain adults, but overall it's more of a kid's movie, and they're gonna love it. It's definitely 1,000 times more entertaining than Snow White. The police have actually caught one of the world's biggest distributors of child-related content, who turned out to be a man from Prague. And this man from Prague, who I want to emphasize again, was one of the biggest distributors of child-related content in the world, is getting 4.5 years for being one of the biggest distributors of child-related content in the world. That's great, isn't it? 4.5 years! I get that the sentence is probably so short because the guy is 83 or however old, but 4.5 years is a joke. The guy himself traveled to developing countries to see those boys, took pictures of them, and then posted them online, and he gets 4.5 years. Wow! But God forbid you grow a plant in your garden, and God forbid, man, your neighbor reports you or something, because nobody is allowed to grow that plant here. Alright, let's move on to the next case, or I'll... The next influencer who might very well be facing jail time is Johnny Somali, an American streamer whose content looks something like this. Literally, he decided, hey, my content is just going to be me pissing people off, filming myself doing it, and making a profit from it. Well, you know what they say, if you play with fire long enough, you're bound to get burned. Johnny Somali also went on a sort of tour through various countries. For example, he visited Japan, where he shouted things like Hiroshima, Nagasaki at people. But whenever someone confronted him, he would say, hey, I'm American, sorry, I don't know how things work here. And most of the time he got away with it until he arrived in South Korea. And South Korea, you know, has certain boundaries, respect for others, the expectations for public behavior, they are pretty strict. But even that didn't stop Johnny Somali from acting like a complete jerk, because he did things like walking around the subway with some fish, blasting North Korean propaganda from a speaker, and the cherry on top was that he desecrated statues that were memorials to sexual slavery victims. He also made some deepfakes claiming that he was dating a Korean streamer. But in Korea, making these kinds of deepfakes is a criminal offense. Local streamers in Korea then tracked down where Johnny Wash actually got a real pull-up from the locals, which I respect. In the end, the police took him in, he doesn't have access to streaming, he can't leave the country, and it looks like Johnny Somali is really going to do time. Honestly, I'm not going to pretend that I feel sorry about it. If anyone truly deserves it, it's him. If you go around bothering strangers, if you make content out of harassing other people, then you are literally the scum of the internet. Yeah, you are literally the absolute bottom of the barrel. And another YouTuber is facing jail time. I'm telling you, this is basically a prison special, man. There's an American YouTuber named Mikhailjo Viktorovich Polyakov, but he's an American citizen who wanted to film himself contacting the natives on North Sentinel Island, which are people who are completely isolated from the modern world. He got himself an inflatable boat and brought a coconut and some Diet Cola, which he wanted to give to the natives as a gift. How can you just decide like, hey, I'm gonna go contact some natives and bring them, dude, coconuts and Diet Cola? Dude, it's insane. It flips your mind with another crazy, seriously crazy trend. If you've been on the internet in the past month, you must have seen tons and tons of photos, that people are transforming into Studio Ghibli-like art style. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Please don't bully me if I'm not. Yeah, these photos were literally everywhere and everyone needed to transform themselves into Studio Ghibli-like, no matter what. People were producing so many photos that it literally started to overload the ChatGPT servers because everyone just had to have a Studio Ghibli photo. Dude, it was such a craze. Like, it was really a craze. Everyone was giving off the same vibe as moms who suddenly discovered, like, the Minions. And the most ironic thing about all of this is that Miyazaki, who's basically the CEO, the main head, just the guy behind Studio Ghibli, absolutely despises AI. Miyazaki literally called AI images and AI-generated creations an insult to life itself. The guy hates AI, and people went, hey, let's honor his work by ripping off his style. That's just so ironic. And on top of that, ChatGPT can actually do that style, probably because it scraped a huge amount of his art without him ever giving any permission. So basically, these AI models don't care at all about any kind of copyright. They just shove it all into the machine, it eats it up, and then, hey, you can put a filter on your photo because why not? In recent months, there's been a crazy trend with Dubai chocolate. Every other influencer was like, hey guys, today we're going to try Dubai chocolate together. Not even because I was interested in it. I couldn't give a CK about that. We chase trends. Because without trends, nobody would care about us. Come with me. So German regulatory authorities conducted tests on this popular sweet. And in some pieces, they found toxic substances, allergens that weren't listed on the packaging, and even mold. Awesome, right? What a great treat. Considering they're selling it everywhere for like 300 crowns. In addition, many foreign manufacturers were found to have poor hygiene during production, and up to 13% of imported chocolates contain mycotoxins, which are harmful substances produced by molds. But if you're craving something sweet and tasty, try Tony's chocolate. This isn't a promotion or anything, I just really like it. It's a bit more expensive, but according to the manufacturers, it's made without suffering, meaning the people who harvest the cocoa beans aren't exploited, and so on and so forth. Another case. And speaking of sugar, here we have Sugar Danny, because Sugar Danny and Tadeusz, yes, Tadeusz Kubienka. Yes, here again in another Bizarre of the Month, we are dealing with Sugar Danny and Tadeusz. I told you, not a month goes by without those two coming up with some shit. But this time, Sugar Danny and Tadeusz are friends again. They're hanging out again after all that, after all the insults online, after calling each other out on podcasts. Tadeusz had that drunk video, man, where he said Sugar Danny was total trash, that he's a bitch. They mocked each other, saying one doesn't have money, the other doesn't have money, that nobody cares about him anymore, nobody cares about her, now suddenly they're hanging out again. So congratulations to them. I even said myself in reactions that by dragging all that stuff out on each other, they're basically closing off any chance of getting back together in a few years. But they managed to do it anyway. And I hope that in a few months, this whole cycle doesn't start all over again. So, on to the next case. Yeah, we're gonna stick with Sugar Danny for a little bit longer, because in one of her videos she used that classic hippie slogan, saying that weed isn't a drug. Just like alcohol, weed is a drug, and so is caffeine. Sugar is like a baby beta drug, absolutely, because when people hear the word drug, they imagine, syringes and people twisted up somewhere on the sidewalks. But no, a drug is any substance that in some way alters the functioning of your brain or body. Then, drugs as such are divided into certain categories. There are stimulants, depressants, hallucinogens. Yeah, there's a lot of them, and a lot of people don't realize that even coffee is really a drug as a stimulant. I find it really funny that people keep shifting the boundary of what counts as a drug based on what they themselves use. Of course, as I've already said, I find it crazy that here, alcohol is basically put on a pedestal. Yeah, it's something so normalized that people just drink, talk about it like it's nothing, like, hey, let's go get wasted, man. It's in the culture, it's absolutely everywhere, but God forbid you pull out a joint, God forbid. So, Sugar Danny, weed is a drug. I don't want to ruin it for you, but it is a drug. Let's move on. Man, I miss the internet craziness from 5 years ago. Thanks for watching. Take care. Boop.